All right.
All right, so we gotta do the clap again. All right, 3, 2, 1.
We were spot on and Jordan was way off.
It's always the same for me.
You were off on mine, Dan. You were way behind.
Jordan, I think you're trying to rewrite the narrative.
No,
We know what we saw.
Yeah.
You're gaslighting us.
Yeah, you're like a second off.
Both times.
A full second.
Both times Dan has been behind on mine. I'm gonna record it. I'm gonna record it next time so you guys can see it.
Just so we can believe you finally. Well,
yeah. I can't believe it.
Well, welcome everyone to the BettorOff Premiercast. We're talking about believing Jordan because he has, I think that's like 18 different teams paraphernalia behind him.
How many of those are Leicester?
Just one over here off camera.
The
off-camera one.
Mm-hmm. Very, very typical, Jordan. Very typical.
I know.
Well, like I said, this is the BettorOff Premiercast. We are back for episode 2. A pretty, half and half week of Premier League football. Not too many interesting games on, but I want to get started. We just talked about Leicester with Jordan. Let's jump into West Ham versus Leicester. What did you think, Jordan?
Yeah, well, other than the nonstop harassment from Dan and calls and texts and FaceTimes as bad things happened, occasionally he'll text me and tell me goals happened that hadn't happened yet just to mess with me, saying my stream's behind. It was a pretty poor game. We were bad before the red
Before
card.
we get into the game, I want to. Is this psychological warfare between you two?
Yeah,
constant. Is it like just on weekends?
The funny thing is I texted him and I was like, "Oh, wow, 1-0! What a terrible mistake by Soyuncu." And then 5 minutes later, Soyuncu made a mistake and he scored, and I got the goal scorer wrong, but I got everything else right.
Everything else is spot on. I like to think Dan's harassment comes from being the youngest child, and me being younger, he's like, I've got my own younger brother now, and it's just constant soccer harassment towards me.
And now you've just added fuel to the fire with your background for this week.
Yeah.
So, anyways, we played terrible. The Perez red card. It's one of those things where he could have avoided it. Yes, he was fouled into it, but it was a dangerous tackle, whether he meant to or not. So that kind of screwed us over from the get-go. And then Brendan Rodgers kind of gambled by putting on more attackers. We got a goal out of it, but when you give up 4, you can't really win the game that way, with no extra defense. So not a good game, but we are missing Vestergaard. We are missing Johnny Evans. We are missing James Justin. And we've got Daniel Amartey in there. It's not a good look for Leicester on the defense side right now.
Yeah, so I think that red card was one of those things that anything can look like a foul when it's slowed down. It was a foul, obviously, but I think you got to take into account that he was pushed into it, right? Or am I just the dumb American here?
He stretches out. He stretches out to make a tackle for the ball. I don't think he intended to land on the guy's leg, but he could have snapped his leg. As a Leicester fan, it looked bad.
I think it was more the fact that he went over the top of the ball. It looked more like a stamp than it did I'm going to try and win the ball.
Like a shield. Like he was trying to shield it is what happened, and a leg appeared under him. So...
Yeah, I agree with the push in the back, but they I don't know which angles you guys saw it from, but the angle from the side, it doesn't look much of a push. It looks like he tried to make the most of it looking like a push, and then obviously what happened next is what happened next. But I agree. As soon as I saw it, I said that's a red card. Like it's if it goes to VAR, it's 100% a red card. We've seen so many times now in the past when the referee goes over and looks at the monitor, it's typically a bad sign.
Yeah. It doesn't help when the whole West Ham crowd goes,
ooh. Yeah, I did notice that. But honestly, I said this to Jordan earlier. I just don't like the look of Leicester this year. I think they've worked so well in the past with the whole, the formation they play, the style that they play with the counter-attack and Jamie Vardy up top on his own. And I think we're starting to see the side effects of people, number one, figuring out their style of play and how to play against it, but also the fact that Vardy is getting older. He doesn't look as sharp, as quick as he has done in the past. I know they've brought in Daka, and maybe that's a replacement for him. But bringing him on and putting him out wide, I didn't see much benefit in that at all. I don't see enough creativity from Leicester. I like Maddison, but when he's not being able to get forward enough, and I thought West Ham set up extremely well. Like I watched the first 10, 15 minutes, and I was like, I don't know if I can watch the rest of this game. It was literally Leicester playing the ball between the back two, West Ham shifting, and it just going backwards and forwards like this. And I was like, there's not enough movement from Leicester. West Ham are just waiting for that long ball over the top. Like it was kind of like everyone knew what was going to come, and eventually it did, and then West Ham cleared it. And I thought West Ham could have won by a lot more.
Yeah, they should have.
4 was a very unfair reflection. But I'm interested to see how Leicester come back from this. I think they still would have lost without a red card. I think it was just a matter of time. But it'd be interesting to see where they come back. I think the tactics, there has to be an adjustment. We talked about this last week. I can't remember what team it was, but when something doesn't work, you have to adapt. And this is the issue I've always had with Brendan Rodgers that I've said to Jordan, is I don't think he's a fantastic tactical manager. I think he's a great man manager. But when it comes to adjusting and adapting, I don't think he does a good job.
Yeah, I think you brought up a good point with Jamie Vardy. I don't know if it's a bad run of form or, like you said, age, but he used to be able to change games by himself, or like he has been able to in the past, with very few opportunities. But there just wasn't that like magic with him today. He was basically stranded up top the whole game, even before the red card.
Well, and that was the thing. He used to love being stranded because that was the space, the space that he could run into. But now he's kind of lost that yard of pace. He needs someone up there to support him, and I think that's where we're now seeing like the decline is. Okay, well now the balls are going over the top. Defenders are getting quicker. They're kind of dropping a little bit deeper, so there's less space for him to run into, and then that gap between Maddison, who should be the highest, midfielder, supporting him, the gap's just massive.
And that was the big point last year. When Iheanacho went on fire, it's because they were playing two up top, and a lot of those assists came from Vardy. He dropped deep. Very similar to kind of what Harry Kane's been doing when he adjusted, and fed Iheanacho, drew that pressure out so he could slide in behind.
Yeah, I mean, this matchup always brings fireworks, right? I think I saw that there were 22 goals in the last 6 meetings between West Ham and Leicester. So I hit the over on that, which was a big second half for the over. Let's just put it that way.
Oh, yeah. But let's talk about how good West Ham looked.
Antonio, man,
he's a beast.
He's a monster.
I mean, he is scary when he's playing the way he has been.
Yeah. You just hope his hamstrings hold up.
Yeah, well, they've got a lot of creative players now. It's not just Fornals and Benrahma and Bowen. You got Cresswell on the left, you got Kufal on the right. Like goals can come from everywhere. Which we're not used to seeing from a team like West Ham. West Ham used to be the let's play the ball into Andy Carroll kind of style football. They've come a long way. I don't want to give credit to David Moyes because I don't like him, but credit where credit's due. Like he's done a phenomenal job there.
I'm excited to see how West Ham's odds are against more stereotypically successful clubs. Like Leicester, obviously they've been pretty decent the past few seasons. West Ham was plus 155, a little bit of a favorite. Nice. And then this week they're coming up against Crystal Palace. They're minus 180. That doesn't really mean anything to me. I think we're going to need to see what their value is when they come up against, let's say, like an Arsenal, a Tottenham, something that's kind of more where Leicester has been the past few seasons, and see how their odds have changed. Because honestly, but even before the red card, this did not look like a plus
Mm.
155, plus 175 match. This West Ham was severely undervalued.
Well, and they've got a fantastic run for the next like 5 games. They've got what Palace, Southampton, then they got Man United. That'll be a good test, but it's at West Ham, and then Leeds, Brentford. Like it's a good run for them. They can really get some points in and get some confidence and keep it going.
Yeah, hold on to the top spot. That's where they are right now, right?
Yeah.
I know, right? Yeah, top by goal difference.
There you go. So West Ham, definitely a team to be looking out for.
One
I think
to
there's going to be a
watch.
lot of value, yeah.
Yep.
I did say last week, didn't I? I said that they were my 5th or 6th place team.
You're right.
What's the odds in them next week? Who do they got next week? They've got
minus 180
Crystal
versus
Palace.
Crystal Palace.
Yeah.
I would lump money on them.
It might be good. And -1, that's the spread. We'll have to see. But let's go into kind of a surprising game for me, Man United Southampton game. What changed in 1 week? I was baffled by this.
I personally don't understand Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's lineup sometimes. I still don't understand why you're bringing Sancho on that late in the game. He's all about attack, attack, attack. You just spent all of this money and you're getting 1 goal a game. It just doesn't make too much sense to me. You also brought in Varane. Maybe it's still a little bit early to bring him in, but I don't know. If you're paying that much money for a top quality defender as well, you don't keep Lindelof in.
Yeah, we talked about him last week, and I've always said that I don't see him competing for the league with the midfield they've got. McTominay and Fred, and they need some better players in there.
Hey, Fred scored. How dare you?
He did score.
Yeah, he scored in the wrong goal the week before, didn't he? Or was it this week?
He scored an own
It
goal
was
this week.
week.
Own goal this week. Real goal last week.
But we said against a team like Leeds that are attack, 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 it's the perfect team for Man United. Because Man United they're not creating a lot. So they need a team like Leeds who's going to come out and attack them, that leaves then space behind for them to kind of counter attack, which is the style we've never known Man United play. They've always dominated the game in terms of possession and creating chances. They came up against a team like Southampton who are organised, that always play that same style against the larger teams of, hey, you come and break us down, we're not going to attack the game. And I think we saw Southampton take the lead, and then it was okay. Well, now we've got to try some new things, and they managed to sneak a goal, and I think it was the fair result. But again, not impressed by Man United. Like I said from week 1, I think it was kind of a fluke. It's a perfect game for Man United really to start with. I don't see them doing more than top 3 this year. I don't think, like I said, they're not going to challenge for the title. I think they'll be way off in terms of points.
They need Rashford back. That's a massive thing they're missing out. Martial.
Yeah, Martial's not. Yeah, I've never been a fan of Martial. I agree with Jordan though on Sancho. I think we've got to start seeing him. Varane's obviously going to come in. I thought Harry Maguire was awful this weekend. Way too many mistakes. He just looked very lackadaisy, like almost like he thought it was going to be too easy. And when you've got 2 workhorses like Armstrong and Adams up top who just don't stop running, you don't have that time to be lazy on the ball, which definitely is what happened. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. They got Wolves this weekend. They're gonna get the same style of running at them from Trincao and Traore, and they don't stop running. So it's gonna be the same kind of game, and we know that they're going to be organised.
Yeah, just like a quick aside, the Wolves-Tottenham game. I'm a Tottenham fan. I've never been confident in our defense. The whole game was a heart attack and stressful. But, we played organized in the back. We had a few big moments, big clearances, and that's what Man United's going to need. Traore on the wing is just. If Harry Maguire keeps playing like that, it's gonna. Traore can't make the final pass. He gets the space, but can't finish it out. But it's going to be fun. I think that's going to be a fun one.
Well, and this is where we kind of see the tactical side of Solskjaer. So as a coach, the first thing that I'm worried about is, okay, how high up does Luke Shaw get in this game? Because the higher he gets, the more exposed he gets with Traore on the right, which then pulls Maguire out of position, and then you've got one-on-one with Jimenez, who's one of the best in the air. So it's really going to be interesting on, do they play their normal game? Does Luke Shaw go roaming up, start putting balls into the box and leave himself to get exposed? I think the safe bet on this game is I'm kind of like the tie.
I think just after seeing that Man United performance, I think I had them third in the in my like preseason preview, but really, I think that unless they pull off something and get a lot more organized quickly, I think 3-4-5 is just going to be which team can mitigate those random losses that we just saw Man U have the best.
Yeah, I think they're not. I think I said last week. I think I had them at fourth. I think I said third a minute ago, but I think I had them at fourth because I don't think anyone gets past Man City, Liverpool, Chelsea. I think that top three is pretty much set. And then I think fourth, fifth is going to be between your Tottenham, your Man United, your West Hams, maybe your Evertons. I don't see them cracking the top three. I don't think they challenge at all. I think they're going to be off by at least 15 points by the end of the season.
Yeah, I think Man U, it kind of seems like they always take one step forward, two steps back.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like a reemergence of Pogba. The first game he played, awesome. This past week, he didn't have a bad game. He was one of their better players out there. It's just stringing it all together.
Well, the difference was he had space against Leeds. Against Southampton, so organised, no space. It's harder to pick out passes.
And I think the Man U game really highlights a big change in the Premier League this year because Southampton's goal comes after Bruno thinks he's fouled and kind of flops and gives up. But they're letting a lot more play out, and it's a lot more fun to see because, Bruno has put up plenty of points. He's a good player. I just don't like him. I think he falls down too much, and a lot of those goals are penalties. But I think it's going to change a lot. We're going to see a lot more battling and not just you get touched, you fall over.
Yeah. Me and Dan were just talking about this before we got on. It's that, Ole and both Klopp both complaining about, hey, these guys are we've reverted 15 years back. And it's, you wouldn't find, if you polled 100 people, you wouldn't find one person who said, hey, I think the game's getting a little too rough. Ole said, we were at basketball, but now we're at rugby. And you're getting these two teams who, are able to do whatever they want. And they're like, hey, when you've got these lower teams that, they've got so much talent on these upper teams, you got so much talent on Manchester United, you have to play more organized and more aggressively. And just because it's harder to play against that, they're complaining about the fouls now.
Well, there might have been. Sorry, you go.
Go.
There might have been a few challenges that were borderline that don't get called as too aggressive, but the ones that have been getting called mostly to me have been the ones that I get annoyed with. Just for two examples, you have Bruno and Jack Grealish, who they're great players, but they go down really easily. And that's part of their game, but the game's changing this year, so it seems like, and it's going to be interesting to see how they adapt.
Yeah, it's funny because I remember when I used to play, the first thing that you'd be told by, a manager or coach of, if you get the chance to give this guy some, you give it him early on so he knows that you're there, and the next time he's worried about, hey, where's this challenge coming from? So, that used to be part of the tactics, whereas now, like you said, people are kind of drawing fouls and relying on getting the referee to blow the whistle more. But I do think from watching this weekend and them letting some of these fouls go, I think players now, and I think players now have to understand, and referees are kind of getting more towards this now of if they're using VAR correctly. So if a goal is scored and then someone like Bruno thought he'd been fouled, if Bruno maybe hadn't have gone down as easy, and it looked more like a foul, the referee was probably more inclined to give it. But the fact if players are going to get touched and just fall over, the ref is just going to say, no, I need you to at least try and stay on your feet. So I like the direction that it's going in. It's the hard part is, and as it's always been with VAR, is consistency. Is this going to be every single week? Are we going to see the same decisions, or is this going to happen next week and a foul is going to be given? It's going to be like, well, you didn't give it last week, so why are you giving it now? Like that, as long as the referees are on the same page with it, it's going to help the game.
And as much as I hate it, the Perez ones is exactly, I think, the way it needs to go. It was a bad tackle. It was on accident, but they gave him a red card, and it crossed that line of way too aggressive, way too out of control, and it's not just playing of the game anymore with normal contact.
Yeah, it was studs up over the ball. As soon as you see that, you're already in a bad territory.
And I hope the soccer gods are in a funny mood, because I just know deep down that the one that does get called back because of a similar foul is going to be a Man United, or it's going to be against Man United. So those fans just lose it. But
yeah, it's always the best to see Man United fans angry.
And also the new reffing. I know it started a bit last year, but it just makes defending, I don't know, more fun to watch, because you basically had defenders kind of scared to do their job, right? They're jumping with their hands behind their back. They're not really making any challenges. It just seemed like it got too hard to defend, and now they're kind of easing up, because there were a few like borderline penalties that went to VAR that they didn't give, which I'm happy to see.
There was a penalty last week that was given. I think it was against Newcastle, and it's so hard. Like, I know the letter of the law with like arms in an unnatural position and stuff like that, but some of these referees who haven't played the game, it's almost impossible to get out of the way of a ball as quickly as they kind of want you to. Like, at the speed that these balls come at you, like I think it was. I'm trying to remember who it was last week. I want to say it was Lascelles for Newcastle. He kind of like went like this. The ball hit him on the arm, but it was from like 5 yards out. Like, I'm like, there's no way that he can get out the way. Like, it's just a natural instinct. When the ball's kicked at you, you're going to do this. Like, you don't want to just get smashed in the face. So I think they just have to be a little bit more vigilant with the calls and decisions that they're giving. But yeah, I want to see them bring back the yellow cards for diving. That was talked about forever. Kind of did it for half a season, then it disappeared. But I think that will stop people falling to the floor so easily. But I just want consistency. That's the main thing.
It's nice to be able to see defenders do what they're brought in to do. Be physical. Like, there's a reason they're the biggest guys out there, and for a season and a half or 2 seasons, they weren't allowed to breathe on the attacker without them going down. So,
imagine taking the physical side away from Maguire.
Did they loosen up the offside rule?
Yeah, so it's now. Yeah, it's now the lines are thicker line kind of deal. So like if the lines are overlapping, they're going to give it the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
Whereas before it was like, well, the crease on his shoulder is just in front of his big toe, so we're gonna call it offside.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is like I've always gone like backwards and forwards on the argument for it, but technically, if you're offside, you're offside, whether it's a fingernail or a toe. Like, the ruling is, if you're offside, you're offside. Like, that's it. So why are we now going, well, what we're going to do now is we're going to make it even, harder by making the lines thicker.
It doesn't really solve the issue either, because now you're just drawing the line at the edge of the thick line. Like, it's just a bigger line. Like,
yeah. And VAR's come in and it's done some good things. I think the whole thing with goal line technology, I think, is fantastic. I'm glad that we use it. But the whole team's not being able to celebrate now a goal until it's double checked by VAR. Like, it's lost all that. That was the fun part of just going mad and celebrating that your team had scored, and knowing now that it can be brought back and the decision can be changed. Like, you used to go to a game knowing that there was going to be at least 2 or 3 mistakes from a linesman for an offside call, and you just knew it was going to happen. So I wish they'd wipe it for the offside rule. I like it for the other stuff, for like sendings off and for other decisions and goal line technology. But for the rest of it, just let it be. Like if the linesman, this is what they're trained and paid to do.
Yeah, it takes some of the magic out of it, definitely, when your team scores and your first instinct is to look at the linesman.
Yeah.
The delayed offsides kill me, especially when it's clear. Like, and they let it out. It's like, that's offside.
Well, someone's going to get hurt. Someone's going to get hurt doing that too.
What happened, wasn't that Liverpool last year? Didn't Van Dijk get hurt on the delayed offsides?
Yeah, Pickford. Pickford snapped his leg. Yeah.
Yeah, and so with VAR, maybe it's my American upbringing with like NFL, but I think offside should be a clear and obvious error. Like, if you have to bring out lines, I think if it's that close, then
you should see like the things that they do to like become referees and linesmen. Like if you gave them 50, they do like a whole live play, and the linesman has to decide whether it's onside, offside, and then what they'll do is they'll review it on the cameras and they'll let you know if you were right, if it was close. If they do this like 50 times, they probably get 49 right. Like they're really, really good at doing it. So I don't know what the reason was of like, okay, well now we're going to try and make it, all about waiting around and highlights and checking this and doing this. And, like I said, it loses some of the magic of it. And I've just never been a fan of it. But like the things like the goal line technology where it's, the referee gets a ding on his watch, it's a goal, like we're not stopping play or anything like that. It's just go, go, go. I think that makes perfect sense. And then like the Perez tackle, it's dangerous, so it can actually hurt someone. So I'm all about it. But the offside, I just think I think it's a silly one.
Yeah. All right, so I think this was the biggest match of the week for me. Chelsea-Arsenal. Chelsea was only minus 120 favorites.
That was the easiest money I've ever made.
And thank you for the free money sports books. Yeah. Thank you. I don't know what their models were telling them, but they must not have watched the end of last season in the first week of this season.
And it could have been 4 or 5.
Easily.
Yeah.
Like it looked like a scrimmage. It looked like Arsenal was playing their U21s.
Yeah. Yeah. Lukaku looked like he'd never left. The style of play was perfect for him. I think he's going to do wonders there. Obviously he's going to have a bit of a tougher match this weekend against Van Dijk than Pablo Mari, who just didn't know how to play against him.
I mean, Lukaku backed him up like a center in basketball. Like it was, I haven't seen that in a long time in the Premier League, and it was just like playing like a kid. He just stood there and held off every single ball that was laid off to him.
And this is the thing that I don't get anymore, from having played for so long. Like a lot of it was common sense and like knowing the game. And I feel like these players now, that some of them that come in as professional soccer players, I just don't know how they are. So the first few times the ball gets played into Lukaku and Mari's like trying to hold him off and trying to wrestle with him, and not once did it work. And I'm like, okay, so now he's going to have to adjust his game. He's going to have to be a little bit smarter, maybe like try and step in front, like get around him, like make a decision to intercept the pass before it gets to his feet. And I'm like, it's going to happen in a minute. 90 minutes, keeps doing this. I'm like, where did the smartness of these soccer players like go? Like it's almost like we've just brought in these robots and they're only programmed to do one thing and they don't know how to think for themselves. And I just don't know how he's getting paid tens of thousands of pounds or dollars a week to be that bad and not make his own decisions. Like I just don't, I can't see how that works.
I mean, I saw very similar things in the Tottenham game with Traore on the side, like we talked about earlier. It just didn't change.
Yeah.
Or Tottenham either. It's like they never played against someone who's that much bigger or physical than them? I don't know.
But even the managers though, like this is what they're paid to do, is like adapting your tactics. If it's not working, change it. Like, there's the big saying of if it's not broke, don't fix it. But if it is broke, fix it quickly. So I just don't understand how a manager who's watching the game, like he's there and he's got all of these like analysts and special people watching the game on consoles and screens and surely at halftime they come in and go, "Hey boss, I've noticed this is happening. Like, I think we should change it." I just don't know the conversations that they have.
I don't know if you've noticed, but we are trying to wrestle the biggest man on the pitch, and it's not working.
Yeah, I think I looked at one of the stats that came up for like his tackle success rate against Lukaku, and it was 3%. And I'm like, what? Why just keep doing what you're doing?
Well, it brings up a good point. It makes you think, is Arteta just out of his depth? Is it starting to show now? Yeah,
completely out of his depth. Like I said last week, he's trying to play pep soccer with Arsenal players. You can't do that.
Yeah.
You just can't. You can't do it. But I do think it'll be interesting to see how Van Dijk and Matip handle him. And I know everyone keeps talking, Van Dijk's a better defender and he'll do this and he'll do this. But Lukaku's a smart player. He's not going to go and stand on Van Dijk. He's going to try and find Matip. Every time he gets the chance, he's going to run towards Matip and he's going to hope that he gets one-on-one with him and not Van Dijk. Like, that's just, as a striker, that's what you get told to do by your coach. Find the weaker defender and you play on them. So it will be interesting to see how Liverpool handle him, and I think we'll get a better gauge of Chelsea and Liverpool and how Lukaku gets handled this week. I think we'll get a better idea.
Yeah. And my final note on the Chelsea-Arsenal game, if you're Timo Werner, what do you think? You see Lukaku come in and it was like his first shot on target he scores. Chelsea looks a lot more dangerous with Lukaku than I think they ever did with Werner, because he could be one-on-one with the keeper and you don't know if he's sending it 20 feet in the air.
And he's deceptively quick as well. You don't think he's fast for a big guy. He moves.
So that was one of the biggest things about Lukaku when he was at Manchester United. They're all saying he's so slow. And I remember one of his Instagram posts, he put up the times of the speeds of everyone on the team. And it was, he leaked it and he essentially put, "You guys think I'm slow," laughing face. He was the second fastest person on the team and had all their times with Luke Shaw sitting at the bottom.
Yeah. Well, Man United played, they didn't play the same way as what suited him. Chelsea will play into his feet. Lukaku's good with holding the ball up, bringing players in. Man United just used to hit the box and hope he'd win headers and, had like an aerial presence. I think he's the perfect fit for them, having Mount and Havertz kind of floating around him. Ziyech looked dangerous when he came on. He, messed up that one chance that he had. It could have been a fantastic goal. Hit the post. Chelsea look good, and they've now got depth, which is something that they've never had in the past. When you bring on N'Golo Kante after 70 minutes, it's like, oh, I feel really sorry for you.
Yeah.
Like a man of the year or player of the year candidate after the 70th minute. Hey, give N'Golo a run out.
Yeah,
he's deserved it. Yeah.
Yeah. So you got Chilwell on the bench as well. Alonso's playing great. It's it's not great for England. Having one of our best left backs on the bench and not playing, but Alonso's doing a good job. But yeah, Arsenal are just that. I don't see a comeback. To be completely honest, this Odegaard that they've brought in as well. He was touted as one of the best youngsters to come through. Went to Real Madrid, as most youngsters do. Don't make it there. We see it a lot with your Barcelonas and your Real Madrids. A lot of the youngsters want to go there, and then you never hear anything of them. So, my personal opinion is, if Real Madrid were willing to let him go, he's obviously not to their standards. I don't know if I would have wanted to spend that money on bringing him in, especially when he's a similar player to Smith Rowe. It's kind of two of the same players.
Arsenal spent the most money out of any team this season, and especially it just doesn't make sense. I'm pretty sure they've released their best goalkeeper for less
Yeah, and
money,
then
and they bought a worse one.
I
for
still
more
don't know
money.
why they
They
let
sold
Martinez go.
Martinez for 11 million, and then they've just bought for 30 million. They've bought the Bournemouth goalkeeper Aaron Ramsdale.
Yeah,
who
makes no sense.
Is just not.
And they're starting Leno. I don't.
Yeah, Callum Chambers not good enough. You know, you can go through that. Their whole back. You know, you go through their whole back four. The only one who really stands out as a player that can play is Tierney. You know, you can tell every time he gets the ball, he looks dangerous. He did a great job at Celtic. Puts a great ball in. I don't think he's enjoying his football right now there. Don't like the midfield. The fact that Jack is captain of a club that he wanted to leave, threw his shirt off, threw everything, like all the toys out the pram last year, and now he's captain of the club. Like, the whole thing there is the model. You know, I looked at some of you just talked about transfer money, Jordan. Something popped up on my timeline the other day, and it was like the net spend of teams over the last, like a 6-year period or something. And when all these fans were kicking for Arsene Wenger to get out the club and all this, he had a profit over 6 years of 14 million, and they'd won the league, the FA Cup, they were in the Champions League, and now they're spending that. They're in so much debt, and they've got nothing to show for it. But Wenger was the worst thing that ever happened to him. Like, let's get rid of him. Sometimes they say the grass isn't always greener. I think this is the perfect example.
Yep. And it doesn't get any easier for Arsenal. They have Man City next. They are plus 1,150. If anyone wants a value play, Man City is minus 390.
I would like to know what the line is with Man City +1.
Man City, the spread right now that I see is minus 1.75. So half is at minus 1.5, half is at minus 2, and that's at minus 105.
So what would Man City be with like +1 goal? So that if you give Arsenal 1 goal, I wonder what the line is.
I would say probably like minus 160. If I had to guess.
That's the bet. Man City
an
are going to win by
alternate spread.
2 or 3. Man City are going to win by 2 or 3. It's not going to be a 2-1. It's not going to be a 1-0. That's the one I would be taking this week. There's a lot of other bets out there, but I would definitely see if I could find the one that give them a few goals and see what the line is, see what it moves to.
And so I think another interesting one, we have Liverpool Chelsea. Liverpool's plus 150, Chelsea's plus 190. I personally think that there's value on Chelsea, but maybe it's too early in Lukaku's reign to ask him to go up against Van Dijk and actually produce. But I know which team you like, Dan.
No, this is going to be the first time Van Dijk's going to be tested this season after his injury. So it'll be interesting to see how he handles it. I'm not a huge Matip fan. It wouldn't surprise me if Liverpool start Konate this weekend. And the only reason I say that is because of his size and his speed.
Mm-hmm.
I can kind of see Klopp. He's kind of good with his tactical stuff. I think that would be a smart move. There's talk of Robertson coming back, but Smeekas, who's come in, has been phenomenal for them. I think he's been player of the match in the last both matches this season. He's got man of the match. So I think that game's going to come down to someone's going to make a mistake. I think that's other than that, my money's on the draw.
Do you think low scoring for that, or do you think it's going to be like a 1-1, 2-2 type?
I wouldn't be surprised if it's a 0-0. I wouldn't be surprised with a 1-1. I don't see there being more than 2 goals. What's the over/under on goals?
2.5. And
I would be taking
the under. The under is more favored right now.
Yeah, I would be taking the under.
All right, and then we have Man United against Wolves to kind of finish out the weekend. Man United's minus 120, Wolves plus 410.
Plus 410? It's at Wolves?
It is at Old Trafford.
It's at Old Trafford.
So
still, those odds aren't too bad.
Yeah, that might be another one I'm looking at, seeing what the odds are with Wolves maybe having a goal head start.
So right now, plus 0.75. So again, half your money's on plus 0.5, half your money's on plus 1. Wolves are minus 120. So minus 120 for Wolves or draw, basically.
I like that bet. What's the
I don't.
over-under?
2.5. I think this is a tricky game. It's all going to depend on if Man U can make the changes they need to make and maybe listen to their fans about who needs to be playing or when subs need to be made. But, I mean, Wolves look dangerous. They very easily could have won the game against Tottenham. Just a few chances going their way. I think Wolves are extremely undervalued here.
Yeah, I kind of think that game and the Liverpool Chelsea game are a flip of a coin right now. I don't think we've seen enough of it at any of those teams to really have a good understanding of what's going on just yet. 2 games in. I like that. I like the odds though on Wolves. Plus 410. Yeah. That's big odds.
Yeah,
that's big. That's a payday right there.
Yeah.
And then personally, I like a parlay of Tottenham minus 250 over Watford and Man City minus 390 over Arsenal. Those combined to give you about minus 130. I see both of them winning fairly easily. He says as a Tottenham fan, knowing Tottenham's past, but that's probably my big play for the weekend. I like those odds.
You should throw Leicester Norwich on there just as I feel like we'll have a nice bounce back week.
Or even Norwich.
Leicester minus 125, Norwich plus 385.
What's West Ham?
West Ham's minus 180 over Crystal Palace. I might throw that in the parlay just to add some spice to it.
That's who I would be putting in, and I'd maybe even be looking at Villa as well. Villa at home to Brentford. Danny Ings is doing well. I would probably have a look at a Villa West Ham double. I think we might get some good odds on that one.
Okay. Well, any other storylines that we didn't talk about, gents?
I've got one for you, Harry. How nice was it to see Harry Kane back playing?
It was really nice, and maybe I said some things I wish I'd take back or wish I'd taken back to my girlfriend.
Don't take him back yet. Apparently they're getting an offer ready. I even heard news today that Man United might be making an offer.
I don't know. Again, like I said last week, I don't know what I want to happen. I think it's too late in the transfer window now to do anything, because if we accept it, everyone's going to jack their prices on us for any player we want to replace him. It's just too late. He's a Tottenham player for at least until January. That's what I'll put my money down on.
What's just the point? Like, how does that conversation go at the beginning of the game? Like, is he not starting because they know he wants to leave, but once that time hits where you kind of need him in, he looks back and he's like, hey buddy.
No, I think I think Kane didn't start purely at the fact that he's only just got back to training. It's going to take him a while. He'll start this weekend. I don't doubt that.
I mean, it could be a good acting job, but from what it seems that Nuno's out of it. It's just like, he's our player. I'm going to treat him like he's our player until something changes. So yeah, I agree that's probably just a fitness thing.
This is the last week, so they better have a backup. If they are planning on just like holding out for money, like Levy's been known to do that in the past. Of he's saying, hey, I'm not selling people. Just he wants that magic number. If that magic number comes, he'll accept it. He's a businessman. But there's a week left in the transfer window. Has he got someone lined up? Is there someone waiting in the wings? Can Son can Son play that role? He looked like he got a knock this weekend. It'll be interesting to kind of see. I can tell you that they have a forward. I think he's still there, but he was touted as the next Harry Kane. Troy, I think his name's Troy Parrott.
Parrott. I think he's out on loan this year.
He looks a player. I'd love to see him have a chance. I think he's like 21, 22 now.
I mean, on one hand, I love Harry Kane. He's done a lot. On the other hand, 150 million for a 28-year-old with ankle problems isn't a bad payday.
Nope.
But it all depends on if they have a plan, if he does get sold. I heard they're looking at Traore to go along with our 4 other wingers.
Yeah, I heard Traore.
And then Son's definitely getting pushed to striker, but that's all in the future. We'll see. By next week's episode, we should have an answer.
Next week's episode, Harry Kane will be at Liverpool. We'll be like, what just happened? There's always one deal in the transfer window in the last week that everyone's just like, huh? What? Like the one that there was the other, it was Danny Ings to Villa. No one mentioned it, and then all of a sudden, Danny Ings was a Villa player. And you're like, how did that disappear? Like that should have been someone Tottenham should have had as backup for Harry Kane. That would have been a great pickup.
Now, Harrison,
every morning I wake up and I Google Tottenham transfer news just to make sure I haven't missed anything. I'm seeing stories that Ronaldo might come to Tottenham.
I heard that. Yeah, I heard that one. Also, Hassoum, I think you pronounce it like Hour from
the
Lyon.
French.
Yeah, he looks like he's going to. I don't know. The whole thing is just.
I could see Ronaldo. You know, he doesn't care about Champions League football. He never has.
Hell yeah! Well, that would be a good topic for next week. Is with it being the last week in the transfer window, maybe talk about some of the transfer rumors that are coming on and what the odds are on these players moving.
Oh, we'd have to record on Monday. It's Tuesday's deadline day.
Yeah, that's
it'll be
perfect day to do it. We can have the TV on while we're doing it and see who's in talks of moving. But that was one of the biggest in England. That was one of the biggest betting days that there was deadline day, because people would be lumping money on people. I don't know whether you've seen a video of this or not, but there was a guy and he was leaving Portsmouth. You saw him driving into the stadium. I think it was Peter Odemwingie. I think he was maybe going from West Brom to Portsmouth. It was somewhere. If you look it up online, it's hilarious. But you see him driving to this place. He said goodbye to all of his teammates. People are throwing money on him leaving his place. Well, it ended up it was all a hoax. Like he wasn't in the know. He thought he was leaving, and people lost millions and millions. And he gets there and he's like, "I'm here to," and they're like, "We have no idea what you're talking about." Like, and it's like there's a YouTube video. It's hilarious if you get to see it.
I have to watch that. That sounds amazing. Yeah. I wish there were betting lines in American sports like there were, but it's a lot different for NFL and all those. Well, all right. We said this one was going to be shorter, but we just have so much damn fun.
Yeah,
I know. I could do this all day.
You know, I'll cut out that bit where you guys are making fun of my scarves to make sure we get down in time.
Well, I'm just going to make sure that we should. What we should have done is we should have kept bringing it up like every 5 minutes, so he couldn't have got rid of it.
It's just going to be him splicing together individual words to make sentences.
Probably like a clip of like me like this and then like this. Like you just deleted something.
Well, all right. I think that wraps it up for week 2 of another great episode of the Premiercast. Again, thank you. I didn't introduce you guys in the beginning, I remember. We have Dan. We have Jordan. We'll be back next week, hopefully Monday, to get a transfer talk.
Yeah, we'll have to do it Monday night.
Yeah, sounds like a plan. All right. So this has been the BettorOff Premiercast. Follow us on Twitter at BettorOff Sports, Instagram at BettorOff, TikTok now at BettorOff, which has been fun. And download the app in the Google Play Store. That's it for me. Have a nice one.